Welcome back to Road to Success. I'm here with my co-star Andrew the Bull, and we've got today TJ Yeager.
How we doing?
Tell us a little bit about yourself, TJ.
I'm local, born and raised in Parkville, Maryland. Hold on real quick. Am I looking into the camera?
Yeah,
Okay.
you can look at the camera, you can look at us, whatever you want.
So, born and raised in Parkville, Maryland. Got into this business in 2014. A guy named Vic Bisco got me into it. Shared a driveway with my sister, and he was coming back in, and I was there, and he was like, "Hey, you want to get into this business?" So I said, "Sure, I'll get into business. Let's start this shit over."
It's a little bit like how you and me did it then. It was like,
Essentially.
Hey, we knew each other.
Right.
You're like, you want to get into this business? I was like, oh, shoot, all right.
Yeah, so my sister lived right in front of him, and I was in the bar business, and she's like, "Hey, I think it's time for you to start looking in like maybe a future career." And it's a young man's game.
Yeah.
And if you worked into the bar business before, Bulldog worked at Bateman's.
Bill Bateman's.
Yeah.
Love that place.
But I was looking in to get into this career, and so eventually I went to go get the license, failed the first time.
Which is normal.
Which is very normal.
Yep.
And then I went back 30 days later, took the test, passed by the skin of my teeth, got into it, came into primary residential mortgage in 2014. And then from there, I worked underneath Devin and Vic as like their loan officer assistant, and kind of built my way up to starting to get out and get some future business. And here we are.
Here we go. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit, about real estate and the business, in the first part, and then in the second part of this podcast, we're going to go ahead and we'll talk more about the investing side, some more personal stuff.
Sure.
Let's start with a little icebreaker. So tell me a story that maybe your parents don't know that you did.
Bulldog, you go first.
Well, let's see here. Mom and Dad, if you're watching this, you pretty much know everything that I did. I wasn't a very sneaky child, I didn't get away with much, needless to say. So, I really don't have too many things that my parents don't know that I did. I was one of those kids that kind of proudly told on myself every single time. So that, that came and bit me in the ass a couple times through my life. But I can't even really think of too many things that I've done back in the day that my parents aren't aware of, especially now, I think a couple times around the dinner table, me and my brother would probably tell my mom and dad some things they didn't know back in the day, and she'd, kind of be shocked and said, "You what?" But other than that, I like to say I was a perfect angel. I was a good kid, but we know that's not the truth. So, I just really don't have too many stories that my parents don't know that I did, because, like I said, I really like to tell on myself when I was a kid.
So what was your most, mischievous moment, or one of your most mischievous moments?
Oh, man. As a kid, I don't know. I was always getting in trouble. Always. I was loud and proud of it, so there wasn't no hiding anything. It was, I don't know. Vialdi, what do you got up your sleeve? What did you do?
Man, I was a real mischievous kid. Let's see.
This is only a half hour long.
Yeah, so I'll make it short, but one time I was in second grade. I was living over there by Eastern Avenue.
Oh.
Old Eastern Avenue, actually. Right in front of the McDonald's. And this girl in my class, she was like, "Hey, I'm having a birthday party today, and I live at this place." And I didn't know where it was, but my friend knew where it was. She was like, I know where it is. And me and this kid, oh man, he ended up moving, and it's a good thing he ended up moving, because we were bad together. And my mom, would get home late, right? Because she worked all day. She used to work at Johns Hopkins. And I'm in second grade. I throw my bike out the window, close the window. We start riding. Now, mind you, we rode from Old Eastern Avenue to, what is that? What does it become? Because it goes to the highway, and it goes to 695. So we rode down that. The cars are going 55 miles an hour plus, and we're riding on the side. and we probably went like 2 miles until we got to like the second, because it was like one street and then you go over, and then the second street you go in. So we went in. I went to the birthday party. They're like, "Where's your parents? They know you're here." I was like, "Yeah." And we had fun. We ate some cake, had some pizza. I got a little goodie bag, and I'm like, man, it's starting to get late. My mom might be getting home soon. So, you know, we book it, we go, and I get back, and my mom is sitting on the couch. She came home early that day.
Oh.
And I was with my bike. Oh, man. Oh,
so
boy.
you're telling me this kid said, "I know how to get there. It's a quick hop down 695. No big deal."
All right. And, man, I got some lickings that day. And to be honest, that was the last day she ever gave me some lickings. I think she felt bad. And then from that moment on, it started clicking in my head that, man, I should probably start doing things that are not so bad, because, yeah, you know, next to the highway, and, you know, at that time, you know, we didn't have phones and stuff, right? So you don't know where the kids are. And it was super dangerous, especially for a kid to be going out far, right? And I was like, whew, that was a bad one.
For me, I mean, my parents were firm but fair, right? And that's for me, it was pretty easy to grow up and not. I wasn't doing anything that was too mischievous, anything crazy. I played a lot of sports as well, so I feel like if your parents are firm and fair, and then I'm out playing sports, and I worked as well. When I was 14, I had a job, so I was working a lot. Also, I was playing a lot of sports. Your parents are firm and fair. So I can't think of anything that I was doing anything crazy, but if anybody who does really know me, I eat a ton of sour candy. A ton.
Still does.
Still do. It's the number one food. It's at the top of the pyramid. It's candy, and then everything else falls underneath of that, right? So, and I was working, but I had the money, but I was like, I don't want to use my own money to buy candy. So the ice cream man would come rolling past, and I would get my parents' money. Now, at the time, they didn't know that, but I was grabbing money. I knew where they had some side money, and I would take that, and I would get a whole thing of Airheads, the pack of 72s. I'd go to the Ice Cream Joe, and I would pay for it out of my parents' money, and that was probably the most mischievous thing that I was doing when I was younger. And looking back at it now, it's so damn accurate, man, because I eat so much sour candy to this day. Yeah, but they didn't know that, so Mom, Dad, love you.
Sorry. We're sorry. We're sorry.
Right.
All right, so let's get into some first time home buyer stuff. So
Sure.
TJ, what is your number one recommendation that you have when you get a first time home buyer, or anybody out there that's listening that wants to buy a home for the very first time?
Advice in what regard? Like
in any piece, just
if you could go back in the day to buying your first home, what would you do differently?
Yeah, what would you tell yourself
right
when you were going to go buy a house the first time?
Yeah, the tough thing is that, I went to public school, and it's not even public school, private school, any education. They don't teach credit when you grow up. They don't. And you're kind of a product of your upbringing, right? So I'm very fortunate that my parents, both blue collar, but they beat it into our head about timely payments, credit, things like that. If I was younger right now, if I was 14, 15 years old, I'd want to get my own credit card. If you don't have a credit card, get added to your parents' credit card as an authorized user, because credit is the number one thing in obtaining any sort of loan unless you're buying something with cash. And we just don't teach that in school.
Right.
I think they're starting to teach that now. I've heard rumblings where they do have maybe some people that are coming to the school itself to do some sort of credit, teaching. But it's not an actual curriculum in school.
Right.
And if I'm wrong about that, I'm sorry, but I don't think that it is.
No,
So credit to me is the absolute most important thing, because that is the foundation to build and build upon your successes. If you have substantial and solid credit, eventually the income and the savings will come with that, because you'll get better terms to be able to accumulate, your assets.
And touching on that, I mean, we had public school as well, Pennsylvania public school, so a little different breed than down here sometimes. But I remember my senior year, we had what was called consumer mathematics, and that was brand new type course, everything like that. Really, all they taught us how to do was balance a checkbook and how to fill out a 1040 to do your taxes manually.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, they didn't really touch on credit, anything like that, but you know, it's, hey, my parents were always big on that. My mom especially, like, you know, very meticulous with what we got to do, timely payments, low balances, everything like that. Then you flip it over to my father, and he was terrified to even own a credit card because I didn't have my first credit card until I was like 26, 27 when I got into this industry, and I realized I should probably get a credit card to help build my credit a little bit.
Right. And this is something that I want people to know. When you have a credit card, it is not the fact that you use the credit card that builds credit. What builds credit is the fact that you made timely payments. So even if the balance on the card is always zero, right, which you don't want to do because eventually they will close it, and it's happened to me, you want to make sure that you pay off those cards every single month so you're not paying any interest, right? Because paying interest is not going to grow your credit. What's going to grow your credit is you just having the credit, using it wisely, never being late, right?
Correct.
And, I mean, I was fortunate enough that my mom actually added me to one of hers. So when I went to a Bank of America, right, which
That's a separate topic.
that's a whole nother topic,
Whole other
guys.
topic.
Well, that would be a whole nother. Oof. So I went there and I had my bank account there, and because I worked too. I mean, I was always a businessman. In school, I was selling candy. I had boxes. I would give to my friends. I'd be like, all right, you guys sell the candy. We'll split some
You were
profits.
that kid, huh?
I was-
Where the hell were you when I was in school?
Dude, I was doing everything. And then they were like, oh, you know what? You can't do that. It can only be if it's for a fundraiser. So then I would buy the fundraiser boxes and then sell my
Right.
So I was always doing something. And then eventually I worked with my mom. And then I worked with my dad at that business. And I was going from school to there. I was busy. It was either sports or working. I was always a kid that I needed to do something. I couldn't just be at home. Like, I could play video games, but like, and I loved video games, of course, we all did, right?
Right.
But I was like, I had to be out and doing something. And sports and making money was the thing. So, man, I mean, like I said, I was fortunate enough that she added me to the cards. And when I went to Bank of America, they were like, oh, yeah, here's a credit card for $15,000. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. $15,000? I was like, what? I wasn't going to question. I was like, huh. And then they showed me my credit, and it was in the 700s. I was like, how the heck do I have a credit in the 700s? And I never even had a credit card.
Yeah.
So then I went home, and my mom's like, yeah, I added you to one of my cards. This is the one. And she showed it to me. She was like, but I'm not giving it to you. And then she always just kept it. And that one has been one that's just like, is the longest credit card that I've ever had, right? She always keeps the balance at zero. It's a Macy's card, right? So sometimes if I go to Macy's, they got a little sale. I could put it on that and whatever and get extra off of it. But yeah, I mean, I got lucky as well with that. She really, did that for me. And for us, it was just always from that point on. Then something that she kind of didn't tell me is just like, make sure you're using it wisely, because when I moved and I got my own place, I was like, oh, well, you know what? Let me buy the TV,
Right.
and let me buy this. And this is a warning. Make sure you use your credit wisely, because if you can't pay for it that very month, don't buy it. Right? Save up until you can pay for it. And then if you want to pay for it with the credit card, because maybe you want to take advantage of points or something like that, do it. But make sure you have the money to pay it off right away.
Right.
Because that's the last thing you want, is to have something that maybe costs you $1,000 and then you just make the bare minimum. Look, that thing is going to be 100x of what you would have paid for that item.
And you don't want to be an authorized user on a deadbeats account.
Right.
Yeah.
That is-
I'm fortunate that my
that's
father,
true.
I look back at it because I'm a junior.
Mm-hmm.
So being a junior, my father obviously is a senior, right?
Right.
So I'm very grateful that if my credit does get pulled, that I do see things that is in his name that's showing up in my credit report. And thank God the old man is not a deadbeat, pays his bills on time. Because if he wasn't, my credit wouldn't look like it does.
Right.
Right. So very, very important. Don't just go be an authorized user on some random person's account.
Exactly. Make sure they have good credit.
Make sure they
Yeah.
have good credit and they
Yeah.
pay their bills on time. Because if they don't, your credit will be impacted.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and that pops up a lot when you have people that are juniors and seniors, and the system
Yeah.
doesn't always differentiate. So that's important too. So anytime, like, hey, if you are a junior and you're obviously your father's a senior and somebody's out there, you're applying for a loan, that's why I always like to go over, regardless junior, senior or not, always go over the credit report with the client, because you want to make sure everything on there is reporting true and it makes sense, because not everybody knows what's on their credit, especially small collections, something like that. They might not even know that. So always kind of walk them through everything and make sure everything's on the up and up.
Yep. I mean, it happened to me, with the whole credit card and or something going to collections where it wasn't even something that I bought. It was like an insurance, and then they put it, and I contacted them and said, oh yeah, it's an error, and then they never fixed it. And then it came back to bite me months later, right? So that's why you always got to watch your credit.
Correct.
Right? So TJ, you are a very successful loan officer. So what would you tell someone who maybe wants to do what you do, and they're starting out in their career?
Well, I mean, the career the business is evolving. It's changing. When I first got into it, it wasn't. I mean, there was social media, right? I'm not dating myself, but I mean, it was only 8 years ago. But social media now is just it's taken off, right? So these podcasts and short YouTube videos and things like that. I think people gravitate right now to that. I think when you're early on and you get into it, I want to say that people are very focused on trying to perfect this side of the business, and they overlook the actual loan officer duties.
Right.
I started as a loan officer assistant. Grateful for that position. I came in with absolutely zero experience. I knew nothing. I bought a house prior to getting into this business, but I didn't know anything about the business. So I learned. I saw as many files as I possibly could. I would say open houses. When you get into this business, you might have your aunt's friend that is an agent, but she already has her referral source, right? You might have your friend's sister that's an agent who's been in the business for a while, that you're trying to tap into that, and they'll give you a chance, but they're not going to just trust you with all of their business until you get your sea legs, right? So I would say coming in, maybe learning under somebody, seeing as many files as you can, really learning the trade itself as a loan officer, which it's extremely important, right? And then from there, trying to meet as many people as you possibly can, and open houses there's referral partners that are there. They're sitting there. It's springtime. It's from 11 to 1. They probably don't want to be there as much as anybody wants to be there, right? They'd rather be out enjoying the weather, but that's their job, right? So they're all there for you to be able to go meet. So learning from somebody as a loan officer assistant, going to open houses, building your database, writing handwritten notes, doing the dirty work day in and day out is equally as important as the social media aspect of things. I've always preached that. I preach that to everybody that comes on board, that we train. And I think it's both sides that you have to be maximizing. Social media and the little things.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, hit the nail on the head is really what it boils down to, is networking, getting out there, people knowing your name. And that's why things like this help too. The podcast and different things like that is just another way to get your name out there and people to know you. But meet as many people as possible, shake some hands. That's even if they don't send you business, eventually you might make an offer on their house and they're going to be, I know that kid, he came to one of my open houses.
Look, at the end of the day, this entire business is word of mouth, right? And what you want to do is you want to build that word of mouth, right? Know as many people as possible. Get out there into the community, help people out, and, just make sure you're doing all the right things so that when you do, right, get in front of someone, they're like, man, this kid has been doing all the right things, or, whatever it is, so that way maybe you do get a shot, right? Or maybe you do get that deal because they go, hey, you know what, I know that kid, he always closes his loans, right? So you got to make sure that you're out there doing your absolute best, right? And making sure that everyone knows it, basically.
I mean, another thing though is we could talk for hours on this type of stuff. I've always said, please never change who you are. And I mean that in a way where you don't want to come and try to be something that you're not.
Right.
I think that it's important to maintain who you are. I'm not a guy that dresses up a lot. I'm not a guy that wears suits. I'm not afraid to say that, right? It's just who I am. If I have to do it, I will, right? But I'm not going to change who I am, but I will adapt to every situation.
Exactly.
I could be talking to a 22-year-old person that's just got out of college, or I could be talking to a 70-year-old couple that's trying to downsize. It's a completely different conversation. That's why this business, to me, every single day is pretty cool because every single person you speak to, it's a different conversation. Kind of the conversations will coincide over time, right? But at the end of the day, as long as you're not changing who you are and you stay true to your fundamentals, right? And you just adapt to what, you know, the clients that you're speaking to.
Right, and I think that's so important, is just being true to yourself is the number one thing, because not only in your business, but people will see right through it. You start going on social media acting like someone that you're not, right? They're going to see it, right? And you don't want to act like someone that you're not. You want to be the person that you are, right? If you're a happy-go-lucky, goofy guy, then be that happy-go-lucky, goofy guy. You don't have to, you know, change yourself, and like, because I'm the same way, right? I don't really wear suits that often, but you know, when I do, I throw it down.
You got my shirt on today.
But you know, you want to make sure that you are staying true to yourself and putting yourself out there. Don't put someone else. Be exactly who you are, and you will work with the people that you will want to work with, because there's so much business out there. I mean, if you put in just accounting, like for example, if we go to York,
right,
there are over 100 deals a month. Easily. You're telling me that that's not, that, you know, that there's not enough business for everybody? There is, right? And you can work with the people that you want to work with. So if you don't, you know, if you don't vibe with somebody, and that's really all this business boils down to, is just working with people that you like, trust, and, you know, I like what you always told me is work with people that you would sit down and have a beer with.
Correct.
Right? And I really like that, because it's like, man, I mean, we're going to be working together, and listen, we do a lot for our clients.
Correct.
There's a lot of things that people don't see.
Yeah.
And I want everyone to know this right now. When it comes to your loan, when you're buying a house, it's just not with me, right? There are processors, there are underwriters, and there are so many other people. If we put every single person that is going to touch your deal and that's going to have something to do with your deal closing, we would have a room of more than 20 people.
Yeah.
And you are only ever going to talk to probably 3. You're probably going to talk to your loan officer, you're probably going to talk to your real estate agent, and you are maybe going to talk to a processor.
Correct.
That they might call you for some documents. But let me tell you something. It is a lot of people that's involved in this, that's trying to make it so that your dream comes true. So, you know, for buyers, you just make sure you're ready.
Yeah. And you know, circling back to, you know, advice for a new LO that wants to get into this business, right? And I tell it to you guys all the time, and whoever else in training and things like that, but there is that saying, you guys know I say it all the time, confidence is contagious and complacency is cancer.
Yep.
And it is it sticks with me. It's written all over like my office at home, and it's important, right? If I'm a young LO and I'm coming into this business is daunting right now. I mean, it's tough, and all you hear is the negative side of things, right? People spray negativity. So find yourself in a situation where it's a confidence situation. Are the people around you confident? Because that's contagious. But if you get placed into a setting where it's not like that, or maybe you start to get some deals, or people are saying, "Oh, go out and do this," and you have maybe a good month. If you become complacent, it's cancerous. Right? And as in this business, when you're coming in, you're starting as a loan officer assistant, building up into an LO, and you know, transitioning into how you want to build your business, it's very, very easy to just become complacent. Because you're getting business from referral partners, and you're just become content, and you expect to get that business. But you should be grateful for the opportunity to get that business, and always try to evolve and make yourself better. So you can never let complacency enter into the brain, because if it happens, it's cancerous.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that really ties into what you're saying about being yourself too. So many people try to put on that sales voice, change things up a little bit. It's not who you are. You're not going to be confident when you're doing those type of things.
Right.
So at the end of the day, this is 24/7 job almost.
Right.
So it's a lifestyle. So why not be who you are, work with the people you can have a beer with, because they're going to be texting you about problems at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night sometimes.
On it's Sunday at 6 o'clock.
Yep, exactly. Right. And it's, skipping Sunday dinner there. But it's good to have somebody in your corner that knows you on a personal level and you can be yourself with, because then you're just having a conversation with a friend at that point.
Exactly.
And if you're being yourself, it's a lot more easy to be confident about your business.
Yeah.
Right.
People do business with who they know, like, and trust.
Right. And what are some ways that if a new loan officer or anyone out there can go out and get business?
I mean, there's all different types of ways. I mean, there's, like I said, open houses is the number one thing that people always go to, right? And the open house side of things is it's an easy thing to say, but how consistent are you going to the open houses, right? I mean, if you go to one open house a weekend, it's really not going to generate any business, right? But how consistent are you going to the open houses? Can you do 3 or 4 in a day, Saturday and Sunday? I mean, when I first started, I was doing 10 to 15 a weekend, and I did it for 6 straight months, and I built a network versus going and then adding them to social media, and then before I know it, I was able to expand my network, right? I mean, I think open houses is the number one thing. It's how a lot of people, real estate agents or lenders, have kind of built their business. Handwritten notes, building your database that way, getting your sphere of influence into your database and be able to write the handwritten notes, because people need to know what you do.
Right.
Yeah. You know, I always tell, like any of you guys, if you have your 100 best people, right, of your friends, and you're sitting there and they say, what does Vialdi Baez and what does Andrew Bull do for a living? You should be seeing that. Hopefully 95% of those people know that I do lending. And if they don't, that's on you guys, right? And I think that's it. So open houses, building up your database, handwritten notes, getting in front of divorce attorneys, you know, thinking outside the box of people that can drive you business. It's not just real estate agents. There's your sphere of influence agents. There's divorce attorneys, insurance agents, title companies, you know, past clients. I mean, it's just constantly, consistently, how consistent are you going out there and asking for referrals?
Right. So you built your business for 6 months with open houses. What are some other things that you did to grow your business?
Well, I was also going to a lot of networking events. And I made it, you got to think, when I first started, I was a bartender, you know. I grew up in the area, I grew up in Parkville. So I was born and raised in Parkville through and through. Never left Parkville until I went to play soccer at Towson University. And then I lived there for a couple years and I came back, but I've been in Parkville ever since I bought my new house with my wife. But I had to now change the perception of people's thought process about who TJ was. They would come into the bar and I was really good at getting people intoxicated, right? I was really good at that, right?
There you go.
But I met a lot of people into that business, and it didn't click to me that I could do pretty well in this business until it was like, how do I get them, the perception of them, to say TJ could get me Rumpelman shots and Natty Lights on a consistent basis, but what attributes did he bring to the table, right? I remember what they drank. I remember what they like to eat. I remember their names, right? I was able to, you know, build a camaraderie and when people would come in and you know, engage with them. And it's exactly what this business takes. How are you able to engage with people? How are you able to make them feel comfortable, right? So I had to now build my database and write handwritten notes out there and really pump it on social media. People had to see me on social media. The one thing that I did that I will go back and I will attribute to, I was a loan officer assistant for Devin and Vic. And at the time, those guys were doing a good amount of business. And I'm trying to build my business, but I'm learning from their business, right? I'm seeing all income documents and income calculation and reading bank statements and all the things that you might not know what an LO actually does.
Right.
But getting used to that and starting to see what it takes to actually be a good LO, I was going to these settlements. So newsflash, those weren't all my settlements when I first started.
Well,
right?
yeah.
Well, yeah. Right? But the business perception is reality, right? But those deals, they were my deals in my head, right? I took those applications. I talked to those people. The applications that, you know, they were doing handwritten applications. You actually meet people face to face, right? And I was signing. I was meeting with the clients. I was sending them updates every week. I got to know all the referral partners, right? So I was going to those settlements and I was taking the pictures. So at the end of the day, I'm posting 10 to 15 pictures over the course of a month on settlements,
right?
And that quickly changed people's perception of TJ is not the same bartender that he once was. Well, he always still gonna be the same bartender, right? But at the end of the day, I was able to quickly change their perception and their view of me, as now I can help you finance the biggest purchase of your life.
Right. So what is the income potential for someone that wants to be a LO?
It's limitless. You know, it really is. You know, when I'm training out LOs, it's not about the income side of things, I mean, some people are motivated in different ways. But in terms of your question about income, there is no limit to how much you can make, right? There isn't, and that's awesome. And LOs can achieve whatever they want if they put into it, and they have the ability to generate that type of business.
Yep.
But there is zero limit to your income.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally this business is what you put into it. There are LOs that make 50, 70K, 100K a year, and they do that through their whole career. There are some LOs out there making millions per year. I mean, there's probably some LOs making millions per month.
Yeah, out there, sure.
You know, there's always a way to do something, and it's just what you want to do, right? It's
right.
a business. This is a business, right? We are our business owners because we run our business, right? We talk to our people, right? We're making sure we do everything correctly. So it's our business. So if you want to have an LO or grow and have a team, right, you can do that. And I think, you know, you would probably attest to this, that someone looking to get into this business, whatever their goal is, they should probably attach themselves to someone who's doing it.
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, having a player's coach is kind of important. I've taken the approach where maybe my business is nowhere near what it used to be, and I'm content with that. Andrew's been with me for a long time now, and you know, he's seen the rise of the business, but I also enjoy coaching.
Right.
You know, that's where I'm passionate. I love to be able to train a new LO. You know, we've had a lot of success with Vialdi. Andrew, same way. Me, I mean, I came with no experience. So us three sitting here right now had zero experience when we first got into this business, which is crazy. But yeah, if you're a younger LO or even a seasoned LO, and you want to align yourself with a place and the ability to be trained by a player's coach and that type of mindset and culture, I think it's huge.
Yeah, I mean, I think about it to this example. I mean, when you go to the gym, right, and you have a personal trainer, I mean, if this guy has a big old gut and he's telling you to do this and do that, you're like, does this guy really know what he's doing?
Probably sour candy like me.
Yeah. Do as I say, not as I do. Type.
Right. You know, but someone who has done it, someone who has experienced it, someone who has connections to other people doing the same thing, those are the type of things that you need to be looking for if that's what you want, right?
Agreed.
If, you know, and like TJ said, it's all about exactly what you want. So you got to know, what do you want? What exactly do you envision your life looking like?
Yeah.
And you can make this business into exactly what your business, you know, what you want out of your life.
Yeah. I mean, and you know, Andrew can probably finish some of the things that I say, but you know, it's not about how much you're going to make, right? Every situation is different. Every person in our branch is completely different, and success isn't defined with income. It's what's your level of success with the happiness in your life, right? Do you want to make a ton of money and that makes you happy? Sure. But do you want to go into a place and everything's posted up on the boards? It's like a boiler room type of effect where if you don't do this many sales, people just like, you know, make fun of you. Right. That's not what we have here, right?
Call scripts.
You know, we have our pipeline meetings. We go over the pipeline and stuff like that. But it's my job, it's my role, and that's how I've always been, is how do I make everybody around us feel comfortable to obtain their goals?
Right.
Give me your goals of what you think. Why are those your goals? And it's my job to think that I think you guys can achieve a little bit more than that. But I'm never going to sit there and make somebody want to do $100 million when they're content with doing $15 million in production. Because if that's where they're happy, then I want to make sure that they're happy.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing about success is what you want it to be. Right. As long as you're just moving forward every single day, you have success. So, I mean, I love it. I mean, I think someone looking to get into this business has a lot of information that we just went through. How to grow their business, how to pick the right people, right? You know, some things to do, some things to not do.
Correct.
So, I mean, look, we're going to go into part 2. Join us in part 2 where we're going to talk about TJ's personal life.
There we go.
And his investment strategies and how he goes about that type of stuff. So, all right, TJ, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.